So basically what we're going to go over, I got tons of questions, like literally like over 60 questions. So obviously we're not going to be able to get to all of them, but this might even need to become a series. Every Monday at this time, I'm pretty much available because I do all of my business calls on Monday evenings. They start at 6, so I'm usually just getting ready for that. So I might do it where it's like an open line where I just come on here and do like a 30-minute live around like getting through all these questions, because not only first of all, I'm not a relationship coach or anything like that. So I'm not like an expert in the sense of like, I'm going to get everyone's question and answer it with the perfect answer. And second of all, I don't believe there is a perfect answer to, hey Star, so good to see you. I don't think there is a perfect answer. So that was one of the things that I wanted to, give me 1 second, literally like 2 seconds. Okay, that was one of the things that I wanted to start by saying was, this was kind of why even when I started Wife Complex, I wasn't starting Wife Complex with the thought that it was going to be like a major like relationship heavy, because I feel like relationships are between you and the significant other, and only you two know what's right for your situation. Now, obviously, I think as a whole in humanity, like the best way to like be the best at life is to learn from the people around you. So that's where I'm coming in, is just sharing what works in my relationship and also wanting to hear what's working for other people. So that's where I definitely want to open it up for, people want to like chime in and add some things. But I have like 3 like key points that I think are like the secret sauce to what makes my relationship work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the questions, and then I'm sure these things are going to come up as what I want to answer. That way I can get through as many questions as possible instead of making it like a presentation where I'm just like teaching 3 points. I'd rather wrap it around examples to answer the questions. So I'm going to pull from some of these questions, and then what I'm going to do is I don't want this call to be longer than 30 minutes if we can take it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see where we're at by 5:30, and then at 5:30, if I'll take Q&A from like the people who are on live until 5:45, and then I'll hop off. So we'll get through as many questions that were submitted beforehand, and then if you have questions that aren't answered in those, then we'll do the last 15 minutes there. And then, like I said, it might be something that I can continue doing so that we can get through all of it. So let's just jump right in. One of the most common questions that I got was like, how do I do it? How do I balance like being, because 80% of the people who responded were in not only a relationship but had kids involved. So the big question was, how do I like give attention to my significant other and keep that spark alive while I'm trying to be a mom and like make money and do all the other things that are on my plate. And so that's actually the DNA of why I created Wife Complex, and it's one of the things that I think I'm pretty good at. And so my first answer to that is, one of the things that I always say, and I always teach people who I work with, is something has to bleed, always, period, point blank. So what I mean by that is, when people are looking on the outside, looking into me, for example, they're often feeling like, oh, Crystal's got it all together. She's got 5 kids and her husband and and life looks perfect. If my business is thriving, my house is usually like a shit show. If my house is like all put together and I'm being the perfect domestic person, then usually, here, you can use this one, that one's too heavy. Then usually my relationship or some other area, or especially my business, is failing. So there's always like ebbs and flow. And so my first answer to that question is, stop striving for like this balanced perfection of life. Like you're never gonna feel like you're just completely solid in all areas. And if you do, it's like a Saturday afternoon. Like I've had like Saturdays where I'm like, oh my gosh, all of my laundry is done and I like pleased my husband last night, or I'm going to tonight, and my kids are fed. And what? Yeah. And you know, like where I'm like, and my business is booming and I'm blah, 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 blah. Like that's like usually like a momentary feeling for like a day. Like that never is like a period in my life where I just feel like I'm all put together. So right now, the season that I'm in, my business is like getting most of my attention. That's my priority. And so I wanted to open up kind of tonight with a story because I think stories like really can be powerful. One of the teaching things that I want to teach you is that I believe that the devil, and if you don't believe in God and the devil, then just try to apply this to whatever you do believe. But I believe that the devil's out to kill, steal, and destroy from families. And why he goes after families is because when there's a man ahead of a household and there's a family unit, then most things are falling in order and things are thriving. And so if he goes after the man and then takes down the relationship, then it's like he's got all kinds of things in shambles by going after one thing. And so one of the biggest things that I could share with you guys is that there's always going to be opposition and resistance against a relationship. So like when I'm teaching clients about like taking on a business venture or doing anything that you're leveling up in life, the natural thing that happens is the universe sends opposition and resistance into your life. So what I would love for you to take away from this call is to be aware of it and be prepared for it so that you can embrace it. So the story that I wanted to share was, you know, the last week I've been like saying I'm going to do this call and I've been posting about it and putting it all over social media and inviting people to it. I spoke at an event over the weekend and I was inviting people to it there. What do you think has happened in the last couple of days? Relationship in like shittiest place right now, and not like it's like on the rocks or anything, but we've been fighting, and me and my husband haven't fought in a good while. Like our main argument is around our kids, but aside from that, we've been in a really good place. Well, I'm not even paying, like the argument is what it is, but I'm not even paying it attention and giving it like what I used to, because I'm aware of it. So if you can just know that opposition and resistance to you having a successful relationship is always going to set in, then now you can look at it in the face and be like, hey, that's what I've been doing. Like I'm trying to think of what we even argued over. It was, okay, so here's what we argued over. And this is just to give you an example. So we're outside with the girls. I'm on my phone. It's my mom's birthday. It's Sunday, and we usually don't do phones and like stuff on Sundays. That's usually like our down day. However, because I told you my business is in a priority stage right now, everything is kind of out of whack as far as my boundaries and my limits and stuff. So I was on my phone on Sunday because I was wrapping up from the event that I was at on Saturday, like made some cool connections, continuing those conversations, just on that high of like, oh, that was exciting, da da da, I'm excited for this and that. And then it was my mom's birthday, so I was doing what I would do. I was going through all of my Facebook pages and like Instagrams and getting all these pictures to post for her birthday. So I was on my phone a lot. And then, so we got up, we went to eat, we took my daughter to her acting class, and I'm like on my phone and all, like the only time I wasn't on my phone was when we went to eat, because there's like non-negotiable boundaries, and then there's boundaries that bend and break sometimes. So being on the phone at dinner or food, like breakfast, lunch, or dinner, is a non-negotiable. So I wasn't on my phone during that time, but after that I was on my phone. So I could sense like the energy kind of getting bad already. Here's the teaching point number one. Communication is everything. So instead of me just sensing the tension and being like, oh well, like I'm in the zone right now, what I should have done was stopped and said, hey Jace, like I'm like still on a high from yesterday from my event. I'm posting about my mom's birthday. I'm preparing for this week to come, and I've just got a lot going on. I'm sorry that I'm on my phone today, and addressed it and just communicated it with him to at least get his grace in the moment versus letting it build up. But instead I didn't say anything and it built up. So then I could just feel the energy shifting. Then we get home and we're outside with the girls, and I was like upstairs and he was outside, but I told them, let's make a lemonade stand and then I'll sit outside with you guys and do it. But then while they were setting it up, I was upstairs on my phone. My intention, and this is teaching number 2, my intention was to be upstairs so that I wasn't in front of the girls on my phone finish what I was doing, and then get off of my phone for at least that hour that I was sitting outside with them and not have my phone with me. Well, Jason had enough. He's outside and he's like, you set them up to do this lemonade stand. Now you're up here just hiding out on your phone, blah, 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 blah. You need to go be out there with him. So now instead of us being out there as a family, he's done. He doesn't want to be out there anymore. He throws in the towel. He goes on about his business, and I get off my phone like pissed off. So then I'm like, I like was able to be like, you need to come out with us. Like, we told them we were going to go, just, we can worry about this later. Let's go outside. So we go outside, but I'm on my phone because he was like, you could finish that outside. So I'm like, fine, if you want me to be outside, but still be on my phone, I'll come down. So I stayed on my phone, went outside, and I'm not changing you right now. You're going to have to wait a second. Went outside, and then now our neighbors are outside. And so I'm on my phone, like, doing my mom's birthday post or whatever, and he's like, can you he's like, hey, Crystal. And I was like, I looked up and I just like gave him like rolled my eyes or whatever. And then that was his like number one form of bad communication on his end of trying to get my attention. And then I go back to my phone, and then he's like, can you get pictures of the girl? And I looked up and I just snapped on him. And I was like, I'm trying to do my mom's post, and I went off, and the neighbor was right there. So it was a wrap. That was it. He didn't want to talk to me for the rest of the day. His number one rule in our relationship is respect, like respect over everything. So I share that story to share, like, there's so many dynamics in the littlest things that happen to us when we're in relationships. And that's why it's so, so, so important to be aware of what are your boundaries, what are your expectations, what are the needs that come in. And so, like, there's so much teaching. Like, relationships are so dynamic. I could literally just stay on this story and finish up this whole 30 minutes, like, literally. But like, the number one thing that I want you to take from this, and this goes back to the number one question of how do you do it? Number one thing that I think you guys should do when you're trying to figure out how to balance everything is to have roles and expectations. So like, Jason and I sat down when we realized, okay, we're both business owners, we're both entrepreneurs, we're both busy with working, and then we have 5 kids who want and need our attention, and then we have each other, and we never want to let any one of those things take over just the core like love that we have for each other. We sat down and we kind of organized our boundaries and our expectations. And this is something that I'm going to be teaching at the vision board event, and then going deeper in with my program that I'm doing. But it's basically like, I like teach people how to like set this vision up top and then create the boundaries that go into the overall vision. Because if you have that, it makes things so much easier. So it's so much easier to like stop, evaluate your situation. When you start feeling that energy, when you start feeling an argument coming on, stopping and being able to evaluate, where did I fall out of my boundaries and expectations? Where did they fall out? And 9 times out of 10, if you've ever heard that saying, people change when you do, love that quote, love that concept. Literally, 9 times out of 10, like the most healing, like I'll save this for like another time, but like the most healing time in our relationship, where we were on the brink of getting a divorce, and like how we healed, that time I felt like, you need to change this, you need to change that, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it wasn't until I turned within and I changed myself that everything else healed itself. And so I would love for you guys to leave this call with the mindset of, instead of how can I fix my significant other, how can I make them a better person, how can I teach them to do XYZ. Like, a lot of us would, like, I know I would do this. I would come to a call like this, or go to a conference, or listen to something, take all these notes on, how we can have a better relationship. And then I would take it home, or I do this when I go to church. I'll like listen to church for what my husband needed to hear. No, it doesn't work like that. It's like, you need to take from this call, what do you need to hear? What do you need to fix from within? And when you change, then your significant other changes. And so that has been a game changer in our relationship, because I especially was a huge like finger pointer of like, you need to do this and you need to do that. And when I started working on myself, and that's why I was able to realize I could have avoided this whole argument that we had yesterday that's still lingering into today. When he feels disrespected, he checks out, and it takes him a while to get back to normal. What? Yeah, they're almost here, and I'm almost done. But so like, like I evaluated so many areas of yesterday that I could have done better with my communication just based on being aware of what I could do. Yes, you can. Thank you. So so that would be the number one thing of how do you do it, how do you balance, is have those boundaries. So other boundaries that relate to that question of how you do it, like me and my husband have our boundaries. So we have certain days and times of the week that we do not be on the phone. Like we could, because we're both entrepreneurs, like some people work jobs that they can leave their work at home. In our house, we don't. We're like literally, we literally have this conversation. We're like, okay, kids are in bed. I'm like, what are we doing? Don't wait, hold on. Excuse me 1 second. Andy, wait. I don't want to tell you what. Okay, go ahead. You can close it. Sorry. We literally will look at each other and be like, so what are we doing tonight? Like, are you working? And he'll be like, yeah. And then I'll be like, cool. And then I'll get out my computer or my phone and I'm working too. So we're on the same page. But if one of us is like, I don't really have that much work to do tonight, let's hang, then that's when the boundary steps in of like, what day is it? So we know like Mondays, for example, is a working day through and through. Like there's no like hangout. Although I'm trying in my, like a challenge I have, I'm so structured that I miss spontaneity. So like I texted him because we're in that little funk, and let me see if he responded. He didn't even respond. So that's funny. But I texted him and was like, man, let's just get lit and go to the movie theater tonight. So we like Monday through and through is the like I work because I have calls into the evening and then I'm usually just like in that zone. But like if it's like a Thursday or a Friday, or a Wednesday, those are the negotiable days where we like check in with each other and we decide if one or the other doesn't want to work, then we like meet in the middle and we connect. So we have boundaries there with phones and working and all of that. We have Thursday nights or date night, which I will tell you, because he and I are both in like an upswing with our businesses being a priority, we've kind of sacrificed our date nights. But that's also why I'm going to be talking about this date night box in a second. So then with our kids, bed night is like essential to the soul. We do not negotiate on bedtime. So this is another difference that people have. I know many people who don't have bedtimes for their kids sleep with them. There's all kinds of things. I don't really have the answers for that. I get my sanity from like, it's 7:59, these kids need to go in bed. I turn off the mommy hat at 8 o'clock. Like, I'm not getting you water. I'm not doing nothing. Like, I'm not, no. Mommy, my name's not mommy anymore after 8 o'clock. Some moms can't do that. That's what works for them. That's what works for our household. So I'm no longer mommy. Like, I'm in either working mode or wifey mode after 8 o'clock p.m. And that's non-negotiable. So boundaries are huge when it comes to my kids. And then my business, I schedule out times of the day. So like during nap time and all that stuff. So you get the point. It's all about having a vision, what's important to you. And this is why I'm doing that vision board event. And then I'm also going to do it virtually online because I know so many people can't physically be there, but I'm going to teach people like, how do you set the vision that makes sense for your household? And then how do you organize boundaries to go into that? So 1 second. Okay, so the next question, I think that's enough. Yes. I'm on a call. Okay, good. It's fine, Indy. Okay, so another common question was forgiveness and trust. And so I wanted to touch on this one because it's kind of opposite from the like, how do you do this? How do you do that? Because I honestly think that how you do a lot of things in your relationship boils down to what you and your significant other do. So a lot of these questions can be answered by simply sitting down and asking your significant other, what do they prefer? What do they want? But when it comes to trust, infidelity, how do you forgive? I know, I hear her. Barry's getting her. Things like that. So I'm going to touch on 2 aspects that have helped in our relationship because we've definitely gone through this subject. Number 1 okay, so I've had this conversation with a friend. So I believe that marriage, especially, now if you're not married, I think it's different. And my number 1 advice to unmarried people is find someone who's equally yoked and not to get married until you're sure that you may not want to get out of it one day. possibly. So if you have any deep core reservations in your gut, don't do it. Erilyn, just take her and go out, please. I'm on a call.
Are you making my
Just take her and go out.
Are you making my
No, I'm not. So that's number one. If you're not married, do not do it until you, like, I don't know that it's like not necessarily one of those things where you can be like 110% sure, but I do know that, like, one of the things that I didn't know before that I know now that I would always, and I would teach my daughters and I would teach anybody who's looking to me for advice, is equally yoked. Because I feel like when you're equally yoked, well, if religion and Jesus and faith is important to you, then make sure that it's important to that other person, because that in my relationship is how I've worked through trust issues. And that's why I'm saying this. So I don't want this to come off like if you're already married and you're in your relationship and you're not in an equally yoked situation, that you're just shit out of luck. I just don't know if I have the exact answer for you, because what's worked for me is my motto is that God's got me. So what I mean by that is, like, when there's been these ebbs of me not trusting my husband, it, number one, always went back to I didn't trust myself, and I'll go into that next. But number two, I realized that I'm with my husband. I chose to be married to him. I have 5 kids with him. So if I'm going to let this work, trust is foundational. And the only way that I can work through that is to hold on tight to God. And so I have conversations with God all the time. And I just say, God, you be my eyes, you be my ears, and you carry me in this time, and I'm going to turn to you. So it goes to things like, and this is very vulnerable. So like, for example, I've gone through seasons in my marriage where I didn't trust enough, where I was going through his phone and going through his emails and logging onto his social media and doing the whole nine. Been there, done that. I stopped because number one, because I would get caught, and my husband was like, just like you say, if I cheat on you, you're leaving me. If I catch you going through my stuff again, I'm leaving you, because it's a violation of privacy. It's a violation of trust. So I read an article that talked about how when you're going through your significant other stuff and you're not trusting them and you're violating their privacy, you're already doing the non-trusting thing that you're thinking they're doing. You're just doing it in a different way. And it's just like sin is equal. Killing someone or lying, they're all equal. They're all sin. Now, obviously, they're more detrimental, I would say. Like if you kill someone versus lying, the one is going to have more consequence, but they're all equal. So if you're doing untrusting things like going through their thing, you're already at an offense. And so that was one of the biggest things that helped me to trust my husband, was realizing that I didn't even trust myself, and that he shouldn't trust me either, because I would be lying straight to his face. Like, I don't go through your phone, but yet I would be like, oh, so and then I would be like, well, he'd be like, where did you get that information? And I'd be like, well, I just know that's what you're doing. And I would like be lying straight to his face that I wasn't going through his stuff. So that's number one, how I got through that, was realizing that I was doing the same offense, but in a different way. And then it got to the point where, so then I went to a doctor. This was for my gut and like holistic health. But that doctor said that a lot of gut issues, a lot of our health issues are trapped emotions from traumas that have taken place in your life. And so one of the things that he said was, he's like, you could eat as healthy as could be. You could get all the rest, drink all the water that you possibly could get, but you're still going to be sick because you've got stuff going on the inside. And I was like, okay. He's like, and then he got in my business, like, do you trust your husband? And I was like, well, if trust means that I go through his phone like it's oxygen, then I guess not. And so he's like, no. So he told me, every time that you take yourself down that path of like, where is my husband at? Or where, if you're not married, just translate it, boyfriend, fiance, whatever, girlfriend, whatever. But, if you keep going down that path of what is he doing, where is he at, who is he with, let me check up on him, you're physically taking your body through it as if it was happening. So what all that emotional trauma that your body would go through if you did go through an infidelity situation, you're still going through the same emotional trauma, even if you didn't, just by thinking about it. So what I would say to you is, if you haven't, in my situation, I didn't find concrete evidence that my husband was cheating on me. It was just my own issues. And that was the third part that I was going to share, was like, after doing self-work, because again, the number one thing I want you to take away from today is, when you change, your relationship will change. So you cannot change that other person. You have to focus on yourself. When you get yourself in alignment and you're doing all you can do in alignment with what's right for your relationship, if stuff is still not right, that's the motto of things either get in line with you, they get better, or they fall off. So that you run the risk of getting yourself together and finding that you're not right for the person you're with. Otherwise, you are settling, or you're just being with a toxic relationship. And that's very common. That's not my job to determine. But you know within your soul, within your gut, what is right. So you have to ask yourself, am I in alignment? Am I doing everything I can be doing to make this relationship right? Am I trusting myself? I wasn't trusting myself. I did a lot of self-work, a lot of journaling, a lot of energy healing, a lot of counseling. I did a lot of self-work to get myself to the place where I was not going to live in a what if he's cheating? I'm too valuable to be sitting around worried about what if. I'm too valuable. I have way too much self-worth and too much going on for myself to be worried about what this man is doing. If this man is stupid enough to cheat on me or to lie to me or to do something that could be hurting me, that's his karma. That's his loss. That's his everything. And this is why a big part of my mission with Wife Complex and with the work that I do with women, this is why I help women find your passion, find your purpose, find your alignment, find yourself, be the best version of you, get that inner fox out. Because when you do that, you realize, you become awakened to like, I'm the shit. Like, I'm too good to be sitting around waiting and worrying about what this man is doing. And your validation no longer comes from a man or a woman. It no longer comes from a relationship. It no longer comes from anything other than yourself, and realizing that everything happens for a reason. And so lastly, to just wrap that up, if you are in a situation where there was infidelity, that's on you to decide. Are you willing to forgive? I believe marriage is a way of teaching people how to be more like Jesus. When Jesus was offended in all kinds of ways. There's sins that we do every single moment of every single day, and he forgives every single one of them. So it's the same thing in a marriage. You have to be willing to forgive and move on. And I will tell you, I forgave for many, many years. It's only been in the last, literally the first 5 years of my relationship was like hell. Before of marriage, the first 5 hell, then the first few going into our marriage were rocky, and then the last 5 have been so night and day. We're 2 different people. We can laugh at this stuff. There's girls I found in his phone back in the day. I laugh about them. One time I was oh, I'm meeting with Tiffany today, and I was calm down, not that one, not the girl that was in your phone. We can joke because I'm healed, and I have genuinely forgiven from past things that have happened. But you have to be making that decision. Are you willing to forgive and move on? Forgiveness doesn't mean hanging it over their head. There was many years where I would hold Tiffany over his head and it would be a different conversation. So those were the turmoil years. You have to decide where you're going to be. So we're already at 5:30. I've been mixing in some of my answers to a lot of your questions. For example, one of them that I just skipped over was how to get your mate to be consistent. You can't get your mate to do anything unless you're communicating with them and you're leading by example. So that goes back to that self-alignment. It goes back to sitting down, and it goes back to figuring out, what do you want that person to be consistent at? Okay, why? What does that have to do with them? Are they in agreement with it? Okay, now you have something to fall back on. But it all starts with you and leading by example. Another one was, how do you get over insecurities? Goes right back to that self-work, to being in alignment with yourself, calling on Jesus, knowing your self-worth, all that good stuff. How do you fight fair? So these were some of the things. A fair fight, and this is what I'll end on, and then I'm going to take Q&A here, and if you guys don't have questions, then I'll go back to some of these other things that I had in my notes. But one of this was in my notes that I was going to say if it didn't come up in questions, and I haven't said it yet. Hands down, one of my most things that I want you to take, that I would give you as advice, is you are in this relationship, especially if you're married. And again, this is my faith is biblical. So when you become married, you're one. So if you're not married yet, you're already battling dilemmas that are going to come along with being not married yet. But like, especially when you're married, you become one, right? So when it comes to fighting fair, I always look at a fight like me and my spouse, because we're one against the devil. That changed my life. If you look at the fight against me, against Jason, you against your mate, it's always going to be like this. But when you can look at it like you guys against the enemy, now when things like this happen, I already told him, I'm like, I understand how you get when you feel disrespected, so I'm going to give you your space, but I refuse to let the devil get us right now. I know that we're busy building our businesses. We have a lot of blessings coming our way. We have been calling on God more than ever. And I'm getting ready to do a relationship call. So I already know what's happening. That's just the devil. And I refuse to let him win. And that's the conversation that I have. So that's how I'm able to just get moving on about my day, not get hung up on the whole, like, oh my gosh, we're in an argument. This isn't fair. Cause he's done things throughout the day that since he's mad, now I could be mad at it. Like right now, him not texting me back. The old me would have been like, oh, so you don't want to text me back? You don't want to go to the movies tonight? And then I would have started another argument because I'm mad that he didn't respond. That doesn't even bother me. So now the old me would have popped off, and then instead of us going to the movie tonight, we would have had an attitude all over again because now I'm mad. Now I'm just going to stay in a state of grace. So that would be how I would answer that. But I'm going to answer this question and then I'll open it. Would it be fair to say that a lot of your abilities to look back and see how to handle things different or how to handle it due to maturity? Yeah, I mean, maturity in a relationship and experience, hands down. And that was what I meant with when I say get in alignment. I'm going to be honest. Even Jason has called me out on this. I have been using a lot of spiritual words recently, like, things like alignment and conscious and universe. And it has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that I get it. Like I'm more and more awake to the fact that like self-development is the key to life. Like I realized like I was living in this spinning state where I'm like, I can't wait to arrive. Like, I can't wait till our bills are all paid and our family's this and we're going on these vacations every year and we're in that dream state of our life. You're never going to be in that state. You're never going to arrive, because even when you arrive, even when we get to where we're going on a summer and a winter vacation and we are this and we're that and we're celebrating this year anniversary and we've got our money on lock and our bills are paid, there's going to be something else to look forward to or worry about. So life is all about becoming, not when you become. It's all about becoming a better version of yourself. And so hands down, the person who I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 days ago is not who I am today. That's why I'm constantly immersing myself around self-development and leadership and growth. And that's why one of the other things I was going to say for advice was keeping your relationship between you and your significant other. When we got married, we vowed that we are not going to take our business. There's only like 2 people on this planet that know everything about my relationship, and that's everything I'm willing to share. There's nobody on the planet that knows everything about my relationship, because there's a sense of space and like privacy that you have. I'm the most open book, transparent person. I will tell you guys whatever you guys want, especially offline. That's why I love in-person events, because my husband doesn't let me say a lot of things on the internet. But like if I'm with you in person, I will tell you any and everything. But there's a few things that not anybody knows, because I feel like you have to keep that to yourself. So it's one of those things that like, as you grow, you just become a better person. And so most definitely you're going to just have a better relationship. But it's like, is your relationship going to make it past those moments? That's all a matter of how strong are you going to be. And that was, I guess, one of the last other things I was going to say was like, one of the best advice that I got when I was getting married, that I like build my foundation on, is that everybody has shit and it all stinks. So find someone who you're willing to deal with. And so in other words, like when stuff starts getting crazy, when we start arguing, when I'm pissed off, when I wish he would be doing this or wish he would be doing that, I stop and I just go into a state of gratitude. And I'm like, well, at least he's doing this and at least he's doing that. And I love him for this and I love him for that. And I'm going to just pray about the rest and I'm going to give the rest to God, because the reality is that if you leave that person you're with because XYZ, you're going to go with someone else and it's going to be ABC. Everybody has shit you're going to deal with. Everybody. So you have to know as an individual, this goes back to, you cannot force anybody. And this goes back to equally yoked. Have these conversations if you're not married yet. And if you are married, go back and rebuild this foundation. What are the non-negotiables? So like in my marriage, for example, like I used to think, it's so crazy. This is a side note. I haven't been wearing makeup for like 2 months because I get itchy, like I get a reaction, and I put on lip gloss, just lip gloss, and I'm reacting. So anyways, me and my husband had a conversation about what were our expectations, what made us happy, what did we need from each other. And it was crazy because we didn't even talk about sex today. There was questions about that, but it all boils down to like, I'm thinking like he'll be happy if I just make sure that he gets some every single day of the week, like, or at least, 4 out of 7 days or something. He's like, I just want respect. And he's like, moreover than me coming home and you being like half naked, busted wide open, I love seeing you like in the kitchen cooking or playing with our kids. That's what floats his boat. Your man may be like, nah, I need some handcuffs hanging. I need this, I need that. So you have to know what is it that floats your significant other's boat and then go off of that. Because until you know those things, you can't make them happy and they can't make you happy. So yeah. So let me see. Here's another question. I know you aren't a single mother, but how do I balance dating and being a mother? My son is extremely active in sports. I have to be at every game and practice plus work 2 jobs. I don't know how the hell to balance dating. I don't want to end up alone. For many single mothers, you know, how did you guide them, especially without a village? It's so hard. I love my son and I pray for his success. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so I didn't read that clearly, but the question was, how do you balance dating, being a single mother? I don't have the answer to that. I don't know. To be so honest, like if I had to think of it from my perspective right now, if I like, God forbid, lost my husband or had to start over or we left each other or whatever, and I have my kids, I'm like, my first state wouldn't be focused on dating. So I can't even like take my brain to what I would do because I have no idea. I guess my only question to help you navigate is how can you create a village? I don't know if you don't have a village because you live somewhere where you don't have family, or if it's because you don't trust people with your kids. I don't know the answer to that. And so, and I just noticed this question was asked privately, but I didn't say who asked it, but like, so for you to answer you there, if there's any single people on here, please reach out to her. Please put in the public chat that you're here. Like I see Jamie said, I'm here. So you can reach out to Jamie. She can help you. She's amazing. But yeah, I also know, like, my mom was single with us growing up. We were in the rat race of everybody having sports, and she dated, but we had a village. Like, she didn't have a problem sending us with babysitters, and we'd stay over friends' houses or cousins, and then she would go on dates and stuff. So I don't know how, honestly, I don't know how anybody does anything without a village. If you don't have a village, humanity, I believe, was made to operate with a village. So if you don't have a village, how can you create one? I would focus on how can you create one. So does anybody have a question that they want to ask who's live on before we end the call? Hi. And if you do, you have to unmute yourself. And if you don't, I just want to close it up and touch on a couple of things that I was going to give away. Okay, so I touched on all of these. So I pretty much
ask a question, or
oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I've learned that my husband like just responds so much more positively when I like show him respect and all that. But do you have any like other words, other ways that you show your husband like, oh, you really respect him aside from saying it? Or like, I don't know, like I still feel like I'm learning how men operate and how they thrive. And I feel like that's like a big piece that I don't know practical ways to apply it.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and it's interesting because so for the longest time, like me and my husband, when we sat down and went over what each of us need and what our love languages are and all that stuff, he said respect, and I'm like, what the hell is respect? Like, because then he would say things like that, like he didn't feel respected, and I would be like, well, what do you mean? So like even when I was like, I don't know if you were on earlier when I shared the story of me like popping off at him and he literally shut down and got mad, like he felt uberly disrespected. I'm thinking of disrespect like cussing him out or whatever, but like just me giving him the eyes and being like, I said I'm doing my mom, like just raising my voice, that was disrespectful. So that was more blatant, I guess. But like when I asked him that to give me examples, it literally just comes down to his expectations not being met in certain ways. So like other times where he said he's felt disrespected by me was like when I'm like arguing around our kids. He does not like to argue in front of our kids, where I'm just like, well, they need to learn healthy arguing. We disagree on that. So he feels disrespected when we argue around the kids. He feels disrespected when like it always just boils down to like expectations that he knows he's communicated to me and then me not meeting them. So like because we Sundays we're not on our phones, that's why he started feeling disrespected, because I was like on my phone. So by being on my phone, it was basically like I was shitting on him and our boundaries. So
I just need to start asking him more questions, yes, about like what do you expect? And it's like, yeah, hopefully you won't say nothing.
Because, well, no, let me ask you this. When you're saying that, is respect a huge issue? Like, is he voicing to you that he feels disrespected, but you just don't know how? Or are you just asking?
No, I'm just asking just because I've noticed, like, when I actually do try, like, I've just seen, like, a total change in my husband. And so I'm like, wow, this is great. And I'm just trying to figure out how I can do more positive things and put more positive, like, demonstrations of respect in our marriage, just because I've realized how important it is for them.
Yeah. So I would also say like another example of what like talking to him, communicate is that's it right there. Because another example is like I said earlier, what floats my husband's boat may not be relevant to yours. So also is like we did like our love languages. So for example, I'm quality time and my husband is words of affirmation, but I always thought he was quality time too. So like in other words, like for me, I can just, as long as he's with me and we're like hanging out and doing something, I'm happy. Like he doesn't need to tell me I'm beautiful. He doesn't need to tell me anything. I don't need the words of affirmation. I just need like the time, like the quality time. I didn't realize he was words of affirmations. And it's very hard for me, I realized, to affirm him in those ways. So like, even like we painted the other night. And he got through the whole room and was like, man, I'm proud of myself. Like I did that. And I was like, so I finally caught on and I was like, oh yeah, dude, you did really good. It looks good. And he's like, man, I had to fish for the damn compliment. So he lobbed me up to give him the words of affirmation that he did a good job on the paint job. So even just knowing his love language might help, because that has been a huge thing. Like I'm to the point after that happened with the paint job, I'm to the point where I might set a reminder in my phone to remind myself every day, have you said something nice to your husband today? Because I'm the action. So I'm more of like, I cooked for him. I made sure everything was clean for him. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but he's not an action. I forget the term for that language, but he's not a acts of service person. So anyways, that would be one that I would say is like knowing that, and then like really challenging yourself to stick to that language so that you're making sure you're touching that every day.
Crystal.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in real quick on that too? I think too, being, it's very, we as women think very differently as men, and we sometimes don't realize how different. And so you saying that Jason needs that affirmation. I think men really do function in that way. It's like I know it's an old school book, but going back to like men are from Mars, women are from Venus, like men take on jobs like police officers, firemen, militant, things that are like that need recognition and that they're doing a good job. So I think that us being like their support systems, like even it's a little thing like what Crystal said about like good job painting, like to us we're like, yeah, painting every day, what the hell, we do that all the time, but to them it's a big deal. And so just by you like acknowledging that he did that, or if he's like when you send him Trader Joe's and he gets a good, gets the groceries right, like just little things like that. For the gal, was saying like, how can I affirm my husband? It's the same thing. They always, I know it sounds silly, but men need to be like clapped and cheered. Like we need to be their biggest cheerleader, like all the time, and just be like they need us to think they're the greatest protector, provider, that they're doing their job because that's how they're wired. Yeah. And to us, it's like not a big deal, but just that was great advice that you gave.
Yeah, no, thank you for adding that and reaffirming for me I need to do better. Like I am really, really bad at it. So yeah, so definitely knowing the love language. And I would say, I think you're right. I think Jamie's right. Like universally, men just want to hear how good they're doing at taking care of their families and just whatever it is. So I'm going to wrap it up. Like I said, because I wanted to be right at the 5:45 mark and we're a little over, but I wanted to, I'm going to probably revisit this because there were some questions we didn't get to, but honestly, like this can go on. And so I think just those major takeaways, like being in alignment with yourself and knowing you change everything around you, and communicating the boundaries and expectations of your significant other, and just knowing that we all are going to go through bullshit. So find that person worth putting up with it, and then fight through it and just fight that enemy. So I'm going to be doing a giveaway, not on this call, but I'm going to be emailing the information on it. You guys are all on the email from registering here, so I'll be able to send it to you. But one of the ways I had mentioned that Jason and I have been giving up our Thursday night date nights, and we haven't been physically going somewhere. So I discovered this box called DateBox. And it basically sends you a monthly box subscription of different date night ideas that you can do inside the house. So this one that we got, I haven't even opened it with him yet, so I don't know. It looks like we're going to be cooking breakfast and like playing a game, because they have like pancake mix and Monopoly like cards, but like it just has different date ideas that you can just do at home to just switch things up and do them. So I'm going to be doing a giveaway for somebody to win one of these. And so I wanted to just share that. And so look out for that. I'm also doing a vision board party on December 1st in LA. So if you're local, look out for those details. We already have the date and location, but I haven't put it out yet because we're just finalizing like where to get your ticket and stuff. That's only going to be for 25 people. So first come, first serve, but you'll get like a planner. I'm going to be using a certain planner, the one that I use. So you'll get a 2019 planner. You'll get a date night box, and then you'll get the vision board supplies, and it's just going to be a great event to like fellowship. And then for those who can't do it in person, I'm going to be doing a virtual one, and I haven't finalized how I'm going to structure it. This is why I haven't put it out yet, but I'm trying to get some guest speakers to do it with me, and then we come on Zoom and we'll just block out those couple of hours to like learn a little bit and also work on your vision board, so that I know for a fact it's one of those things where, oh, I'm going to do it. And then you never do it. So I figured, why not like come sit on Zoom, everyone get your supplies together, and we'll do our boards together. So that's going to be virtual. And then I'll be also sharing pretty soon here about a program that I'm going to be doing going into the new year for anybody who's looking for that accountability and like just structure in setting vision for your life, and then setting up your life to match that life. Because I really have a desire to help people wake up from the rat race. I think so many of us are racing, working, doing all these things. Like we're just constantly like this, going. And one day we're going to wake up and what is it going to be for? And we don't arrive. Like, you're not going to wake up one day and be like, okay, now I can go on vacation. Now I can do date nights. Now I can spend more quality time with my family. So I really want to teach people how to set vision and how to live the life that we have in front of us with quality, and like spend those hours with quality. So these are just things to look out for. So if you registered, you're on the list, and I will be sending information for them. So look out. I don't spam. I send a weekly email. It's just something that I needed to hear throughout that week. Maybe it's something I got from my mentor, something I read, something I heard on a podcast. I just share it, a thought that came over me. I share that as like just inspiration for the week, and then I send out information about events or whatever. So you'll never be spammed. I don't even have that much time to sit on email, but stick around to the email list so that you can just be updated on the giveaways and all the things that are coming up. And I appreciate you for being here, and I will let you know if I decide to do this again next Monday, because I'm kind of playing around with the idea of doing these weekly. So have a good night, everybody. Thank you for joining.